Admiral Kyung-min stood on the bridge of the Coalition flagship, watching the enemy fleet through the large viewing screen. The stars looked cold and distant, but not as cold as the fear in his heart. 200 Vorthan warships moved through space like deadly metal fish, their crystal hulls catching the light from the system's twin suns. "How long until they reach firing range?" Kyung-min asked. Captain Haewon checked her display. 2 hours, sir. Maybe less if they push their engines harder. The Coalition fleet waited near the gas giant Artemis. 73 ships from 6 different alien species floated in defensive formation. Each ship looked different. The bird-like Centaurian cruisers with their smooth curves, the blocky Draconian destroyers, the spiral-shaped vessels from the outer rim worlds. They were beautiful ships built by races that valued art as much as war, but beautiful ships died just as easily as ugly ones. Haewon commanded the Unity's Edge, the largest ship in their fleet. It was a Centaurian design, all flowing lines and elegant weapons. She had trained for years to master its systems, learning to think like the bird people who built it. The ship was fast and smart, but she knew it would not be enough. "Signal from the Draconian Squadron, Admiral," reported Jiho from his communication station. The young human was the youngest fleet coordinator in Coalition history. Most of the alien species still thought humans were only good for ground fighting. "They want to know if we should fall back to the second defensive line." Kyung-min shook his head. "Tell them we hold here. The colonists on Kepler 442 need more time to evacuate." Through the viewing screen, he could see the planet that had started this war. Kepler 442 was humanity's first real colony outside Earth's solar system. 2 million humans lived there, farming and building and hoping for a better future. The Vorthons wanted to turn them all into slaves, just like they had done to 12 other worlds. The Vorthons were not like other alien species. Where most races in the galaxy tried to find peaceful solutions, the Vorthons only understood conquest. They were made of living crystal, and they thought all soft-bodied life forms were weak and worthless. For 3 years, they had been eating their way through Coalition space like a disease. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Vorthan fleet," Jiho said, his voice tight with worry. The main screen changed to show a creature that looked like a walking mountain of blue crystal. Its eyes glowed with inner fire, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like breaking glass. "I am Supreme Crystallarch Veltaran of the Vorthan Empire. You have one choice, soft-flesh creatures. Surrender now and become slaves. Your deaths will be quick. Resist and we will make you suffer before you die. You have 6 of your hours to decide." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Haewon checked her weapons display. "Sir, even if we hit them with everything we have, we might take down 20 or 30 ships. That still leaves 170 of them." "I know the math, Captain," Kyung-min said quietly. He had fought the Vorthons before. He had seen their plasma cannons melt through Coalition shields like they were made of paper. He had watched good ships and brave crews die in battles that could never be won. But something was different today. 3 hours ago, he had received a strange message from Earth Command. The message was coded with security levels he had never seen before. All it said was, "Package delivered. It of 4 hours. Maintain position at all costs." What package? Earth had never sent military support to the outer colonies before. Humans were good soldiers, everyone knew that. But their ships were small and weak compared to alien technology. Earth's factories could build transport ships and cargo haulers, but nothing that could stand up to Vorthan crystal ships. "Sir?" Jiho called from his station. "I'm getting strange readings from the edge of the system. Something big is moving out there, but I can't get a clear picture." "How big?" Haewon asked. "Bigger than anything in our database. The computer thinks it might be an asteroid, but asteroids don't move in straight lines." Kyung-min felt a small spark of hope. Maybe Earth Command knew something he did not. Maybe the package they mentioned was something that could help. "Keep scanning," he ordered, "and send a tight beam message to all ship commanders. Tell them to hold position and prepare for battle. No matter what happens in the next few hours, we do not let the Vorthons reach that planet." Around the fleet, alien crews prepared for what they believed would be their last battle. Centaurian pilots said prayers to their wind gods. Draconian warriors sharpened their ceremonial blades. The spiral ship crews sang their death songs in harmony. But on the human ships scattered throughout the formation, the crews did something different. They cleaned their weapons and checked their systems, but they did not pray or sing or prepare to die. Humans had learned long ago that the best way to honor the dead was to make sure the enemy died first. Jiho continued scanning the outer system, watching for whatever was coming. He did not know what Earth had sent them, but he knew one thing for certain. If it was human-made, it would be built for one purpose only: war. The countdown began. 4 hours until the mysterious package arrived. 2 hours until the Vorthons reached firing range. And somewhere between those two deadlines, the fate of 2 million colonists would be decided. In the cold space around Artemis, 73 coalition ships waited to learn if they would live to see tomorrow. Beyond the orbit of Pluto, in the cold darkness where no planet had ever formed, something impossible was happening. Hidden in the shadow of an asteroid field, the largest construction project in human history was finally complete. Tai Yang floated through the zero gravity of the construction platform, checking the final systems on humanity's greatest secret. The ship stretched out below him like a metal mountain, its hull dark against the stars, 3.2 kilometers from nose to tail, covered in weapons that no other species had ever imagined. Final systems check complete, he reported into his helmet radio. The Indomitable Will is ready for launch. The name fit perfectly. Where other races built ships that looked like works of art, humans had built something that looked like what it was: a weapon designed to kill everything in its path. The hull was all angles and armor plating, with gun barrels sticking out like the spines of some deadly animal. Captain Wu Jin stood in the ship's command center, watching his crew prepare for their first and most important mission. 8,000 humans worked throughout the massive vessel, each one trained for this moment. They were different from the pretty alien crews on coalition ships. These were soldiers, hardened by Earth's long history of war. Status report, Wu Jin ordered. His executive officer, So Young, checked her displays. All systems green, Captain. Engineering reports full power. Weapons are loaded and ready. We can launch in 10 minutes. Wu Jin nodded. He had fought on the ground against alien slavers and human rebels. He had seen what happened when good people tried to fight wars with pretty weapons and noble ideals. They died, and their enemies lived to kill more innocents. That was why Earth had built this ship in secret. The Coalition thought humans were only good for ground troops and support work. They had never asked what Earth's factories were really building in the outer system. They had never wondered why human merchant ships kept disappearing into the asteroid belt. "Sir," called Minho from the engineering station, "quantum armor is fully charged. All railgun systems are operational. The enemy won't know what hit them." The quantum-locked armor was humanity's greatest breakthrough. Other species used energy shields that could be overloaded or bypassed. But human engineers had found a way to spread any impact across the entire hull, making the ship nearly impossible to destroy with conventional weapons. The railguns were simpler, but just as deadly. While aliens shot pretty beams of energy at each other, humans had perfected the art of throwing very heavy objects very fast. Each tungsten slug could punch through any known armor, and the Indomitable Will carried thousands of them. Boram ran her fingers over the weapons control board like a pianist preparing for a concert. She had trained on Earth's military ranges, learning to hit targets at distances that made alien gunners dizzy. The ship's main batteries could fire in any direction, and each shot would hit with the force of a small nuclear bomb. "Captain," So Young reported, "we're receiving the final mission briefing from Earth Command." The message appeared on the main screen, delivered by an old man in an Earth military uniform. Wu Jin recognized Admiral Park, the head of Earth's secret defense project. "Captain Wu Jin, your mission is simple," the Admiral said. "The Vorthons think they can conquer human space because they have never seen what we are truly capable of. Today, you will show them why Earth survived 10,000 years of constant war while they played with pretty crystals." The message continued. "You are not going to Kepler 442 to reinforce the Coalition fleet. You are going there to demonstrate that humanity is the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Show them what human engineering can do. Show them what human tactics can accomplish. And make sure that every surviving enemy ship carries the message back to their empire." "The Coalition thinks we are junior partners in their alliance," Admiral Park said. "After today they will understand that we are the species that decides who lives and who dies in this galaxy." The message ended, and Wu Jin turned to his crew. 8,000 faces looked back at him, waiting for orders. These were not the fresh-faced kids from the Coalition academies. These were veterans of Earth's corporate wars, survivors of the lunar rebellions, soldiers who had learned that the only way to win a war was to make the enemy afraid to fight. "Listen up," Wu Jin announced over the ship's communication system. In 4 hours, we will drop out of faster-than-light travel in the Kepler 442 system. We will find the Vorthon fleet attacking our allies and our colonists, and we will show the galaxy what happens when you threaten human lives." He paused, looking out at the stars through the bridge viewing window. Somewhere out there, 2 million humans were waiting to learn if they would live or die. Somewhere out there, Admiral Kyung-min was trying to hold together a coalition fleet that was probably already falling apart. "This is not a rescue mission," Woo-jin continued. "This is not a last-minute save by the cavalry. This is a demonstration. We are going to show the Vorthons, the coalition, and every other species in the galaxy that Earth does not need permission to defend itself." The crew cheered, a sound that echoed through the massive ship like thunder. It was not the polite applause of alien military ceremonies. It was the roar of a species that had clawed its way to the top of its home planet's food chain and was not planning to give up that position. "All stations, prepare for launch," So Young announced. "Navigation, set course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum speed." The indomitable will began to move, its massive engines pushing it away from the construction platform and toward the jump point. Behind it, the asteroid field held 11 more ships just like it, still under construction. Earth had not built one battleship. Earth had built a fleet. As the ship entered faster-than-light travel, Woo-jin settled into his command chair and smiled. The Vorthons were about to learn something that humans had known for thousands of years. There was always a bigger predator. The coalition fleet was dying. Captain Haewon watched another Centaurian cruiser explode in a ball of superheated plasma. The beautiful bird-like ship had been there one moment, and the next it was nothing but expanding gas and metal fragments. 2,000 crew members gone in an instant. "That makes 7 ships lost," she reported to Admiral Kyung-min, trying to keep her voice steady. "The Draconians are requesting permission to fall back to the second defensive line." Kyung-min gripped the arms of his command chair. 3 hours of battle, and they had barely scratched the Vorthon fleet. The enemy's crystal ships seemed to absorb their weapons fire like sponges soaking up water. Meanwhile, every Vorthon plasma blast tore through coalition shields and armor like they were made of paper. "Tell the Draconians to hold position," he ordered. "The evacuation transports need more time." Ji-ho looked up from his sensor station, sweat beading on his forehead. "Sir, I'm still tracking that unknown contact at the edge of the system. Whatever it is, it's getting bigger on my screens." "How much bigger?" "Big enough that I don't think it's an asteroid anymore. The mass readings are off the charts and it's moving too fast for something that size." Across the battlefield, the Vorthon fleet pressed their attack. Supreme Crystal Arc Velteron commanded from his flagship, a massive crystal mountain that bristled with weapons. His plasma cannons reached out like deadly fingers, touching coalition ships and turning them into clouds of superheated gas. The Vorthons were not just winning. They were demonstrating their superiority, taking their time to destroy each coalition vessel with careful precision. They wanted the survivors to carry word of their power back to the inner worlds. "Admiral," Haewon called out, "the Unity's edge is taking heavy damage. Our shields are down to 30%. Around them, the bridge crew worked frantically to keep their ship alive. The elegant Centaurian controls were not designed for this kind of brutal combat. They were made for quick strikes and artistic maneuvers, not the grinding warfare that humans knew so well. Then something impossible happened. "Sir," Ji-ho shouted, his voice cracking with excitement. "Contact is dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Distance, 1 million kilometers and closing." The main viewing screen flickered as the ship's sensors tried to process what they were seeing. Space itself seemed to tear open, releasing energies that made the nearby stars flicker. Something massive was forcing its way back into normal space, and the process was creating electromagnetic pulses that reached across half the star system. "What kind of ship creates that much distortion?" Haewon asked. Before anyone could answer, the unknown vessel completed its transition. What appeared on their screens made the entire bridge go silent. It was huge. Larger than any ship in the Coalition database, larger than the biggest Vorthon crystal ship. But size was not what made them stare in shock. It was the design. Where every known spaceship was built with curves and flowing lines, this vessel was all angles and armor plating. It looked like someone had taken a mountain and covered it with weapons. Gun barrels stuck out from every surface, and its dark hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. That's a human ship," Ji-ho whispered. Lieutenant Commander Jae-min, the Coalition's expert on alien technology, checked and rechecked his readings. The quantum signature matches human faster-than-light drives, but the scale is impossible. Earth doesn't have the technology to build something like that. Across the battlefield, the Vorthan fleet had stopped firing. Supreme Crystallarch Velteron stared at his tactical displays, his crystal mind processing what his sensors were telling him. The unknown ship was not just large. It was powerful enough to generate energy fields that interfered with Vorthon communication systems. But more disturbing was its design philosophy. Every species in the galaxy built ships that balanced beauty with function. Even the Vorthons, for all their brutality, created vessels that were elegant in their crystalline perfection. But this human ship was built for one purpose only: to kill everything that opposed it. All vessels maintain position. Veltarin ordered his fleet. Analyze the new contact. Determine its capabilities. For 30 seconds, space around Kepler 442 was completely silent. 200 Vorthan ships hung motionless, their weapons trained on the human vessel. 73 coalition ships waited to see what would happen next. And the massive human battleship drifted between them like a dark moon, its weapon systems quietly tracking every ship in the system. Then a voice cut through the silence. It was transmitted on all frequencies, reaching every ship in both fleets. This is Captain Wu Jin of the Terran Federation ship Indomitable Will. To our coalition allies, hold your current positions and observe. Do not interfere with what happens next. The voice paused, and when it continued, it carried the cold certainty of someone who had never lost a battle. To the Vorthon Empire, you have 60 seconds to begin retreat procedures. Any ship that remains in this system after that time will be destroyed. This is your only warning. Admiral Kyung Min felt his heart racing. 60 seconds? One human ship against 200 Vorthon vessels? It was impossible. It was insane. But as he stared at the angular metal monster on his viewing screen, he began to wonder if impossible was just another word that humans had decided to ignore. On the Vorthon flagship, Supreme Crystallarch Velteron made his decision. No single ship, no matter how large, could threaten his entire fleet. The humans were bluffing, trying to scare him with impressive size and bold words. All vessels target the human ship, he ordered. Full weapons, maximum power. Show these soft flesh creatures what happens when they threaten the Vorthon Empire. 400 plasma cannons turned toward the Indomitable Will and prepared to fire. The Vorthon attack began like the anger of a star. 400 plasma cannons fired at once, creating a storm of superheated energy that lit up the darkness of space. The barrage was enough to vaporize a small moon, and it all focused on the human battleship floating alone between the two fleets. Captain Haywan watched in horror as the energy storm struck the Indomitable Will. The human ship disappeared inside a ball of plasma, bright enough to blind unprotected eyes. No ship could survive that much firepower. Nothing built by any known technology could withstand such concentrated destruction. But when the energy faded and the stars became visible again, the human battleship was still there. Its dark hull glowed white-hot from the impact, but the ship's structure remained intact. Not a single gun barrel was bent. Not a single piece of armor was missing. The massive vessel hung in space like an angry metal god, completely undamaged by the attack that should have destroyed it. On the bridge of the Indomitable Will, Executive Officer So Young checked her damage reports with calm professionalism. Hull temperature elevated but within safe limits. Quantum armor holding at 96% efficiency. All weapon systems fully operational. Captain Wu Jin smiled grimly. The Vorthons had just made their biggest mistake. They had shown him exactly what their weapons could do, and it was not enough. All weapons, he ordered. Free fire. Target priority. Largest vessels first. Leave no survivors who do not retreat immediately. Chief Weapons Officer Bo-Ram had been waiting for this moment her entire career. Her fingers moved across the control panels like a pianist playing a deadly song. Primary railgun batteries acquire targets, firing solution locked. The human battleship's response was nothing like the elegant energy weapons preferred by other species. Instead of beams of light or balls of plasma, the Indomitable Will launched pieces of solid metal. But these were not ordinary projectiles. Each tungsten slug was accelerated by magnetic fields to 30% of light speed. At that velocity, they became unstoppable forces of nature, carrying enough kinetic energy to punch through any known armor. The first salvo struck 3 Vorthan dreadnoughts simultaneously. The tungsten slugs hit the crystal ships and kept going, passing completely through their hulls and continuing into space to strike vessels in the rear formation. The crystal armor that had turned aside Coalition energy weapons shattered like glass windows hit by cannonballs. Supreme Crystallarch Veltaran watched in disbelief as his flagship's sensors reported the impossible. 3 of his largest ships were dying, their crystal hulls cracked open and bleeding atmosphere into space. The human weapons had not just penetrated their defenses, they had ignored them completely. "All vessels, evasive maneuvers," he commanded. "Reform and attack from multiple vectors." But the human battleship was not finished. Chief Engineer Min Ho monitored the ship's power systems as the railguns fired again and again. The quantum-locked armor was not just protecting them from enemy fire, it was feeding power back into their own weapon systems. Every plasma blast that hit their hull made their guns charge faster. "Power levels at 120%, he reported cheerfully. "We can keep this up all day." Boram smiled as she selected her next targets. The Vorthans were trying to spread out, but their formation was too tight and their ships too large. Every shot found its mark, and every mark meant another enemy vessel turned into expanding debris. On the Coalition flagship, Admiral Kyung Min watched the battle with growing amazement. In 5 minutes, the human ship had destroyed more Vorthon vessels than his entire fleet had managed in 3 hours of fighting. "How is this possible?" Lieutenant Commander Jamin asked, studying his sensors. "Their weapons are just kinetic projectiles, simple physics, but the velocities they're achieving should be impossible with any known technology." Jiho checked his tactical displays and shook his head in wonder. "Sir, the human ship is not just winning, it's demonstrating complete technological superiority. Every system they have is more advanced than anything we've seen." Captain Haywan realized the truth with sudden clarity. They've been hiding their capabilities. Earth never showed us their real technology. We thought they were junior partners in the Coalition, but they've been holding back all along. The battle continued with methodical precision. The indomitable will moved through space like a metal shark, its weapons reaching out to touch Vorthon ships and turn them into clouds of crystal fragments. The human crew worked with calm efficiency, calling out target coordinates and damage reports in steady voices. This was not the desperate last stand that the Coalition had been fighting. This was an execution. Boram targeted a cluster of Vorthon cruisers trying to flank their position. The railgun spoke again, and 3 more enemy ships died in flashes of light and metal. 47 enemy vessels destroyed or disabled, she reported. Remaining hostile count, 153 and falling. Supreme Crystallarch Veltaran faced a choice no Vorthon commander had confronted in 3 centuries of conquest. His empire had built its power on technological superiority and overwhelming force. They had crushed every species they encountered because no one could match their weapons or their tactics. But the humans had not tried to match Vorthon technology. Instead, they had developed something completely different, something that made crystal ships and plasma cannons look like toys from a primitive age. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we are losing ships faster than we can coordinate counterattacks. The human vessel is targeting our command ships first, disrupting our formation control." Veltaran watched another dreadnought die under human fire. The tungsten slugs were not just destroying ships, they were passing through multiple targets, killing 2 or 3 vessels with single shots. His fleet was being dissected by an enemy that seemed to treat galactic warfare like a simple engineering problem. For the first time in his long life, the Supreme Crystallarch considered retreat. On the indomitable will, Captain Wu Jin opened a communication channel to the surviving Vorthon ships. His voice carried across space with the calm authority of someone who had never doubted the outcome of this battle. "Vorthon vessels, you now have 30 seconds to begin emergency jump procedures. Any ship remaining in this system after that time will be destroyed. This is your final warning." 3 weeks after the Battle of Kepler 442, the galaxy had changed forever. Admiral Kyung Min sat in the Coalition War Council chamber, watching representatives from 6 different species try to understand what had happened. The elegant meeting hall built by Centaurian artists had always felt peaceful before. Now it felt small and fragile, like everything else in the galaxy. The Centaurian delegate, her feathers ruffled with anxiety, spoke first. Our most advanced warships are now obsolete. The humans have technology that makes our weapons look like children's toys. The Altarian representative nodded his scaled head slowly. Our entire military doctrine is based on energy shields and plasma weapons. If kinetic weapons can simply ignore our defenses, we need to rethink everything we know about warfare. Even the proud Draconian ambassador, whose people had refused to join the coalition until now, looked humbled. My Empire's War Council has authorized me to begin treaty negotiations with Earth. We cannot afford to remain neutral when such power exists in the galaxy. Kyung-min listened to the discussions with mixed feelings. The coalition had won a great victory, but he understood that the balance of power had shifted completely. Humanity was no longer the junior partner providing ground troops and support vessels. They were the species that decided who lived and who died in galactic conflicts. Jiho, now promoted to Coalition Intelligence Coordinator, delivered his weekly briefing. Vorthon fleet movements show continued withdrawal from 5 contested systems. They appear to be consolidating around their core worlds. Intelligence suggests that Supreme Crystallarch Veltaran has been replaced by a war council that views humanity as an existential threat. The young man paused, checking his notes. We've also detected massive industrial activity in Earth's outer system. They're building more ships like the Indomitable Will. Current estimates suggest 12 additional battleships will be operational within 6 months. Captain Heywan, now serving as the official liaison between Coalition Command and the Terran Federation Navy, added her own observations. The humans are not just building warships, they're redesigning our entire approach to military technology. Every species in the Coalition is now requesting human engineering consultants. She gestured to a holographic display showing the latest ship designs. The new Coalition vessels will use quantum-locked armor and kinetic weapons based on human technology. The age of beautiful artistic warships is over. From now on, everything will be built for maximum combat effectiveness. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Wu Jin stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Will as it led a task force toward the next contested system. His ship had become the flagship of humanity's new role in galactic affairs. Behind him followed a mixed formation of human battleships and coalition vessels, all equipped with the new weapons that made traditional defenses useless. Executive Officer So Young coordinated with the alien fleet commanders, teaching them the new tactics that human military doctrine demanded. Where other species had fought with honor and artistic beauty, humans fought to win as quickly and efficiently as possible. Target system in sight, reported the navigation officer. Vorthon occupation forces detected. 12 crystal ships in defensive positions around the 4th planet. Wu Jin smiled grimly. 12 ships. Before the Indomitable Will, those 12 vessels would have been enough to hold the system against any coalition attack. Now they were just target practice. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Prepare for standard liberation protocol. Primary objective, destruction of all Vorthon military assets. Secondary objective, demonstration of human military capability to any observers. Boram ran her hands over the weapons controls that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat. The railgun batteries were fully charged, ready to deliver their deadly message to anyone who threatened human interests. On Earth, in the hidden shipyards beyond Neptune, Chief Engineer Minho oversaw the construction of humanity's growing fleet. 30 battleships were now under construction, each one larger and more powerful than the last. The quantum signatures from the construction sites looked like stars being born in the darkness of space. The other species had finally seen what human engineering could accomplish when it was focused on a single goal, making their enemies afraid to fight. The elegant curves and artistic designs that had dominated galactic architecture for millennia were being replaced by angular, functional shapes that prioritized combat effectiveness over beauty. Tai Yang floated through the construction bay of the newest ship, checking systems that would have been impossible to build just 5 years earlier. Human technology had advanced faster in the past few months than in the previous century, driven by the need to establish and maintain their position as the galaxy's dominant military power. "How long until the next batch is ready?" asked a voice behind him. Tai Yang turned to see Admiral Park, the architect of Earth's military transformation. The old man looked tired but satisfied. like a teacher whose students had finally learned their most important lesson. 6 more ships will be operational next month, Tae-yang reported. 24 more within the year. At this rate, we'll have the largest fleet in known space before the Vorthons can adapt to our tactics. Admiral Park nodded. Good. The other species are starting to understand that Earth is not just another member of their coalition. We're the species that decides the fate of this galaxy. Back in coalition space, Lieutenant Commander Jamin studied the latest intelligence reports from Vorthon territory. The crystal ships that had once seemed invincible were being retrofitted with new armor, designed to resist kinetic weapons. But human engineers were already working on the next generation of railguns, weapons that would make the current ones look primitive. It was an arms race, but one that humanity had already won. Earth's industrial capacity, driven by centuries of constant warfare and competition, could outproduce any other species in the galaxy. For every defensive improvement the Vorthons developed, humans would create 3 new offensive capabilities. The final message came through on all coalition frequencies, broadcast from the bridge of the Indomitable Will, as it completed the liberation of another star system. Captain Wu Jin's voice carried across space with the calm authority of someone who spoke for the most dangerous species in the galaxy. This is the Terran Federation ship Indomitable Will. The contested system of Rigel 7 has been liberated. All Vorthon military assets have been neutralized. The system is now under coalition protection, but everyone who heard the message understood its real meaning. The system was under human protection. The coalition was under human protection. And anyone who threatened human interests would learn why Earth had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. In the cold darkness between the stars, more human battleships moved toward their targets, carrying the promise that humanity would never again allow genocide to proceed unchallenged. The galaxy had a new apex predator, and its name was written in tungsten and quantum steel across the void.